The Korthan High Council had ruled over 17 star systems for more than 40,000 years. Their purple skin and four eyes had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. They had conquered species that breathed fire and enslaved races that could bend light with their minds. Nothing in the galaxy surprised them anymore. Nothing made them feel small. Until the day the humans came. Ambassador Veltrix stood on the observation deck of the Grand Temple, the holiest place in all of Korthan space. Behind him, 300 of the most powerful beings in the Empire knelt in rows of silent prayer. The temple floated above their homeworld like a second moon, its golden spires reaching toward the stars. For generations, the Korthan people looked up at this temple and felt safe. They felt chosen. Today, they felt nothing but fear. The message had arrived 6 standard cycles ago. A simple transmission from a species called humans. The Korthan had never heard of them before. Their databases contained no records of these creatures. Their scouts had never encountered their ships. It was as if they had appeared from nothing, from the empty spaces between galaxies where no life should exist. The message was short. It said only 3 words in perfect Korthan language. "We are coming." Veltrix had laughed when he first heard it. His advisors had laughed too. Some unknown species daring to approach the mighty Korthan Empire with such arrogance. They would be destroyed before they even reached the outer defense stations. The Empire had crushed thousands of such foolish civilizations before. But then the reports started coming in. First, the outer defense stations went silent. All 40 of them, in less than 1 rotation. No distress signals. No battle recordings. Just silence. Then the colony world stopped responding. One by one, like stars being snuffed out across the night sky. The Korthan sent their greatest warships to investigate. Ships that had conquered entire systems. Ships that carried weapons capable of cracking planets in half. Those ships never came back. Now Veltrix stood watching the sky, and for the first time in his long life, he understood what true power looked like. It was not the Golden Temple floating above his world. It was not the empire that had stood for 40,000 years. It was the thing descending through the clouds of his homeworld. The ship was enormous. It was so large that it blocked out the sun and cast a shadow over the entire capital city below. Its hull was a deep, beautiful blue, the color of the ocean depths, the color of twilight, the color of something ancient and unstoppable. It moved without sound, without effort, as if gravity itself had no hold on it. Streams of light flowed along its surface like rivers of liquid fire, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. The Korthan people in the cities below stopped moving. They stopped working. They stopped everything and looked up at the sky. Some of them fell to their knees immediately. Others tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The shadow covered everything. Veltrix heard weeping behind him. The most powerful beings in the Empire, the admirals and generals who had crushed countless worlds, were crying like children. Their purple faces were wet with tears. Their 4 eyes were wide with something beyond fear. It was awe. It was the terrible, crushing realization that they were not the greatest things in the universe. They never had been. The blue ship descended lower, and Veltrix could now see details on its surface. There were no visible weapons. No gun ports or missile tubes or any of the instruments of war that the Korthan knew so well. The ship did not need such things. Its very presence was a weapon. Its existence was a statement that spoke louder than any bombardment. A beam of light shot down from the ship and touched the observation deck of the temple. Veltrix shielded his eyes against the brightness. When the light faded, a figure stood before him. It was a human. A female, according to his limited knowledge of their biology. She was small compared to a Korthan, barely reaching his chest in height. Her skin was a soft brown color, and her eyes were dark and deep like the void between stars. She wore a simple uniform of blue and silver, matching the colors of the great ship above. There were no weapons on her body. No armor, no protection of any kind. She looked at the weeping council members with an expression that Veltrix could not read. Was it pity? Contempt? Something else entirely? He could not tell. "I am Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth vessel Athena," she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried across the deck as if amplified by some invisible force. "I have come to discuss the future of your empire." Veltrix tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He had given speeches to billions of subjects. He had declared war on species that could have destroyed his world. But standing before this small, quiet human, he could not find his voice. Captain Chun walked past him to the great window that overlooked the planet below. She looked down at the cities, at the billions of Korthan who were staring up at her ship in terror and wonder. "Your empire has existed for 40,000 years," she said, not turning around. "In that time, you have conquered 17 star systems. You have enslaved 412 species. You have destroyed 63 civilizations that refused to submit to your rule." Veltrix finally found his voice. "How do you know these things? We have never encountered your kind before." Captain Chun turned to face him. There was something in her eyes now, something cold and hard like the heart of a dying star. "We have been watching you for a very long time, Ambassador. We have been watching all of you. Every empire, every civilization, every species that has risen and fallen in this galaxy." "That is impossible," one of the council members said, rising to his feet with shaking legs. "We would have detected your presence. Our sensors cover half the galaxy." The captain smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "Your sensors see only what we allow them to see. Your ships travel only to places we have deemed safe for you to visit. You think you rule this corner of the galaxy, but you have been living in a garden. A small, protected space that we created for you to grow in." The council member sat back down. His legs could no longer support him. "Humans have existed for 300,000 years," Captain Chung continued. "We left our birth world 100,000 years ago. We have spread to every corner of this galaxy and beyond. We have seen the birth and death of stars. We have mapped the structure of reality itself. We have become something that your species cannot comprehend." Veltrix felt the ground shifting beneath his feet, though the temple was perfectly still. Everything he had believed about the universe was crumbling. Everything his people had built was revealed to be nothing more than a child's toy, allowed to exist only because something far greater had permitted it. "Why now?" he asked. "Why reveal yourselves to us after all this time?" Captain Chun walked closer to him. Despite her small size, she seemed to tower over him. The light from the great blue ship above fell around her like a halo, and in that moment, Veltrix understood why the ancient texts of so many species spoke of gods descending from the heavens. This was what it felt like. This was what it looked like. "Because you have reached a crossroads," she said. "Your empire is at the point where it will either grow into something worthy of the stars, or it will destroy itself along with all the species you have conquered. We have seen this pattern countless times. We have watched civilizations like yours burn themselves out in wars of conquest and pride." "And you have come to destroy us?" Veltrix asked. He was surprised to find that his fear was fading. If death was coming, at least it would come from something magnificent. "No," Captain Chun said. "We have come to offer you a choice. Continue on your current path, and you will fall like so many before you. Your empire will crumble. Your people will fade into history. In 10,000 years, no one will remember that the Korthan ever existed." She paused, and her expression softened slightly. "Or you can change. You can free the species you have enslaved. You can stop your conquests. You can join the community of worlds that we protect and guide. You can become part of something greater than yourself." Behind Veltrix, the council members were whispering to each other. Some still wept. Others stared at the captain with a mixture of fear and hope. The weight of 40,000 years of empire pressed down on all of them. How can we trust you? Veltrix asked. How can we know that you will not simply destroy us once we have weakened ourselves? Captain Chun reached into her uniform and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and suddenly the observation deck was filled with light. Images appeared all around them, floating in the air like ghosts. Images of worlds covered in green forests and blue oceans. Images of species of every shape and size living together in peace. Images of cities that stretch to the clouds and ships that sail between the stars like schools of fish in a great cosmic ocean. These are the worlds under our protection, the captain said. 17,000 civilizations. Beings that were once like you, filled with fear and pride and the hunger for power. They made the choice to change. They joined us. And now they flourish in ways they never imagined possible. Veltrix looked at the images. He saw a species that his people had once considered conquering, now thriving in ways that made the Korthan Empire look primitive. He saw a technology that defied everything he understood about physics. He saw happiness on faces of creatures he had once thought of as inferior. The choice is yours, Captain Chun said. We will not force you. We will not threaten you with destruction. We are simply showing you the truth of what you could become. She walked back toward the beam of light that had brought her down from the ship. Before she stepped into it, she turned one last time. We were once like you, she said. Afraid, angry, convinced that the only way to survive was to conquer everything around us. But we learned. We grew. We became something better. And now we spend our existence helping others find the same path. The light surrounded her, and she began to rise back toward the ship. You have one of your years to decide, her voice echoed across the deck. We will return for your answer. And then she was gone, rising into the belly of the great blue ship. The vessel began to ascend, moving back through the clouds, back toward the stars from which it had come. The shadow lifted from the city below, and sunlight returned to the world. Veltrix stood in silence for a long time. Behind him, the council members slowly rose to their feet. No one spoke. There was nothing to say. Everything had changed. Everything they believed had been proven small and fragile. Finally, one of the younger council members approached Veltrix. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was something new in them. Something that looked almost like hope. What do we do now, Ambassador? She asked. Veltrix looked up at the sky where the blue ship had disappeared. He thought about 40,000 years of conquest. He thought about the species his people had crushed beneath their boots. He thought about the fear that had driven them to build an empire of blood and fire. And then he thought about the images the human had shown them, the worlds of peace, the civilizations thriving, the possibility of something beyond war and conquest. We change, he said quietly. We become better. We become worthy of the stars. Below them, in the cities of the Korthan homeworld, billions of people were still staring at the sky. They had watched a goddess descend from the heavens. They had fallen to their knees and wept at her power. But now, slowly, they were beginning to stand again. They were beginning to hope. And somewhere among the distant stars, Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Athena and smiled. Another civilization had been shown the way. Another species had been given the chance to grow beyond their fear. It was the work that humanity had dedicated itself to for 100,000 years. Lifting up the children of the galaxy, showing them the light, helping them become something worthy of the infinite cosmos that surrounded them all. This was what humanity had become. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but guardians, guides, the gentle hand that lifted others toward the stars. And in the great darkness between galaxies, more blue ships waited, ready to descend, ready to offer hope to those who needed it most, ready to show the universe that there was another way. The blue goddess would return. She always did. And those who were wise would listen to her message.